and welcome to the Unsure to Unstoppable podcast. My name is James Dunn, and I was adopted. I grew up in a household with an alcoholic father, and I was arrested for attempted armed robbery when I was 17 years old. Why do I share that with you in this podcast introduction? Well, because while you may not have gone through any one of those specific set of circumstances yourself, you've had your own version of them, whether it's a loss of a job, a divorce, you were picked on as a kid. Something in your life has created this little voice in the back of your head that's made you doubt yourself, question yourself and what you're truly capable of. As a podcast host and as a mindset coach, what I do is I help you tell that little voice in the back of your head to shut the fuck up, get out of your own way, and move from unsure to unstoppable. And how I plan to do that is each week I'm going to bring you stories of inspiration, motivation, my own challenges, my own struggles, as well as those of others who've gone through challenging times, rough times, things that most people maybe just didn't think they could ever get through, but have not only gone through them, but come out thriving on the other side of them. And through the sharing of those stories, I hope to help you see that you're not alone in this journey called life. Whatever you've gone through, whatever challenges you're having right now, it doesn't matter. You are a fucking badass and you deserve an amazing, incredible life. And we're going to help you get there. So with that, enjoy today's show. All right, welcome back to the show, my friend. Today, I want to share with you the one common denominator between you and every single failure, every single struggle, every single challenge, every single thing that hasn't gone right in your life. There's been one common denominator, and we'll share what that is with you today. And I want to do that through giving you a real life example, someone that I have seen struggle over and over and over again in their relationships and in their career path. And what has happened is this person over the last decade and a half or so, and even before then, but that's the experience I've had with them. I've seen them struggle time after time after time after time, where they've gotten into a relationship and starts out really great. Things seem to be magical. It's wonderful. This is the love of my life. Everything is great. But for whatever reason, after a certain amount of time, that honeymoon phase wears off and things go to shit. It just really falls apart. They can't stand being around this person. This person doesn't care for them. This person doesn't love them. This person doesn't support them. They're just not the person they thought that they were. Now, if this were just romantic relationships, that would be one thing. But I've also seen this person struggle in their career path, where they've gotten into job after job after job after job. And the exact same scenario is played out. They go into a new job full of enthusiasm, full of hope, excitement. They start out this job and things are wonderful. They're loving it. It's the greatest thing ever. This is where I'm going to be for the rest of my life. I've found my path. But for whatever reason, not long after, sometimes it's a couple of months, sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's a year, sometimes even a couple of years. But inevitably, what ends up happening is over some length of time, things go south. Suddenly, it's not that amazing, incredible workplace anymore. Suddenly, it's not a supportive place to be. Suddenly, it's a toxic environment, and I can't stand being there. I can't be in this place. I just don't like going there. I've got to find something different. They leave that place and they go to another job, and the cycle happens all over again. And I share this example with you because, again, there's one common denominator. If you're able to pull yourself back from the situation and look at it, that one common denominator is that person. And I don't say this to pick on that person, to call them out without pointing the finger at myself, because if you've been along for my journey for any length of time, there's a really good chance that you've heard my story where I had to realize that I was the common denominator in a situation that happened to me twice. It took me 2 times to figure it out. But specifically what that was I have 2 kids through 2 failed marriages. So when I was in my early 20s, I was 21 years old, had my first kid, got married to my son's mom not long after that. We tried to raise our child together to give him that loving, caring, supportive home that, every child deserves. We realized after the fact, she and I did, that we were much better as friends than we were as lovers. We'd gone through this on again, off again situation, relationship through high school, after high school, done it a couple of times and thought marriage would fix everything. Well, let me tell you, marriage does not fix anything in a relationship. It only makes it worse. Whatever you've been hiding, whatever you've been avoiding, it's only going to get worse. But I digress. After that situation happened, and I was in a position of raising my son in a split home where his mom and I were not together. We had to do the separate holidays, and thankfully, we worked some things out for that. So it wasn't as bad as it could have been for him, but it still was not the ideal situation. It was not what I had hoped for my son. I fell into personal development, thought I had my shit figured out. Fast forward 14 years, I found myself getting my second divorce, now having to raise a second child in a split home, something I swore I would never, ever do again after I'd done that to my son. And I said, wait a minute, what the fuck, man? There's 2 divorces, one common denominator. That's me. So I'm not calling this other person out. I'm just sharing it with you so you can see that I've done it. Other people have done it, and you have done it. I guarantee you have done it on some level. And I want to make sure you're not doing it now. And if you are doing it now, that you recognize what you're doing. So if you're going from job to job, or if you're in a coaching space, or if you're trying to figure out what your path is in life, if you keep changing these scenarios, if you keep changing these paths without changing yourself first, what's going to happen is you're going to end up in that exact same scenario. So you may be, let's use this job example. You may be in a job that right now doesn't serve you. And you're thinking, I got to get the fuck out of this job, because if I get in this other job, that's going to magically make everything better. And it may or may not, depending on the workplace that you're in. It may actually be a much better place for you. But if you don't change yourself in that process, if you don't come at it from a new perspective, then once you get into this new workplace, it could turn into the exact same scenario. A place where you see this play out over and over again as well is people who want to move. So if you grew up in a very small town, a very small-minded mentality, something that I feel like I had growing up in the town that I grew up in, it would, at least my experience, was a very small-minded mentality type of a place. I could move out of that place, but if I myself don't change in that process or through that process, then when I get to the next town, community, whatever, I'm going to naturally gravitate. And why do I always end up getting coughing when I get to recording these episodes? So 1 second, let me take a drink. All right. So what's going to happen is when you move to a new town, a new environment, you're naturally going to gravitate towards the exact same kind of people that you were around before. And you're going to end up in the exact same scenario that you were in before. So it doesn't matter if you keep moving, you're still going to find the exact same thing over and over and over again. So I just want you to become really aware of the fact that you are the common denominator for every failure, for every struggle, for every challenge, every single thing that has not worked out the way that you wanted it to in your life. You are that single common denominator. Now, that's not to say that there weren't other people involved in these things. It's not to say that other people didn't have some influence over some of those challenges, some struggles, but you are the person that chose to be around them, or you are the person that chose to stay around them. You are the person that got involved with them some way, somewhere, somehow. You had choices. And even if these things happened when you were a child, you still had a way to choose your perspective, even if you didn't realize it at the time. It's something I struggled with as well. There were a lot of things that happened in my youth that I did not know how to deal with, and that's okay. Forgive yourself for that. You are a grown-ass adult now, and you do have authority over yourself. You do have control over yourself and your decisions and your thoughts and how you move forward from this point. So if you find yourself struggling over and over and over, and no matter what you do, no matter how many times you change something, it doesn't change your scenario, stop and take a look at that one common denominator, because until you fix you, nothing else is going to change. All right, get out there, have an amazing fucking day, and I'll see you next time. If you found value in this episode, please share it with your friends. Give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and anywhere else that you happen to hear it. We are just trying to celebrate life, make it better for everyone, and sharing these messages with them just helps them believe in themselves and what can be better than that.